Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne. And in this podcast, I share my real world self publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, you may have gotten an email in the not too distant past from a Kindle Direct Publishing if you publish on Kindle, that there are some new resources available for different types of books using the Kindle Create tool to prepare your manuscript for publishing. Now, Kindle Create is a great tool. It is amazing, and it really can help you easily format your book for Kindle publishing. However, with some books, Kindle is a challenging platform, and especially for books that are heavy on the graphics or they have a lot of charts and graphs, they're very complex. So in the Kindle Direct Publishing support documentation for prepare and publish with using Kindle Create, they have three new resources. One is for more of a standard book, which would be a standard fiction novel or a nonfiction book that has some maybe simple graphics. They talk about that. Then they also offer some tips on doing comic books for Kindle ebooks. Of course, I've never done one of those, but if that's something that you want to try, they have some tips and resources for that. As well, they also talk about publishing very complex books, which have a lot of charts and graphs. So you want to check out the Kindle Direct Publishing support documentation for Kindle Create because there are some new resources out there. And over time, it's just becoming easier and easier to self-publish, but that doesn't mean it's faster to self-publish. So this is a good segue into today's topic about how long it really takes to self-publish a book or ebook. Now, because Kindle Direct Publishing allows you to upload your manuscript to the platform, and usually you have some tools right when you upload to do the preview of it, and within 24 to 48 hours, you can have your ebook available on Amazon. So a lot of people think, wow, that is just instant publishing. And it really isn't. And especially as you get into more complex publishing, which would be for those complex types of publications we just talked about, or for print. So the time just increases. Now, I've had authors contact me and they want to get their book done in a month. Is it possible? Yes. And that would have to be an all-out effort. But typically, I tell authors, especially brand new first-time self-published authors, to allow 3 to 6 months to get your book self-published and in your hand or available online. Now, it seems like a long time, especially when you have Kindle Direct Publishing, which, as soon as you upload, you could have it ready in a couple of days. It's all the preparation work and all the follow-up work that takes the time. Now, first, of course, it'll take you a while to write your book. That is totally up to you. It could be as short as a week. It could be many weeks. It could be many months. It could be years before you get your book actually written. So that time isn't included. What we're talking about in today's podcast is the actual publishing process. Now, if you hire beta readers or you hire a professional editor to do a critique of your work, that's going to be the first step. And I usually tell people to allow at least a month for that. And the more beta readers and critique reviewers that you have for your manuscript, extend that time a little bit longer, because you have to remember that it takes the beta readers time to read your book, which could be on the order of at least a couple weeks. And then they need to formulate some feedback to give you. Now, whether they give that to you in person or on phone or in writing, it could take a while for that. So allow at least a month for any beta reading or critique reviews by a professional editor. So that's 1 month right there. Right there. Then you also have to remember that you're going to need to add time for you to review the feedback and make any changes. Now, when I do a critique for authors, I really dig in, and they get a several-page report on what I find, covering a lot of different aspects of the book. And some of the aspects that they'll have to address can take time. For example, if they don't have a disclaimer, they may need to talk to an attorney to get that for their book. And that could take a couple weeks right there. And then there's the content portion of it. Does it make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, you might have to rewrite it. So add some more weeks for that. So that whole initial review could take 1 to 2 months. So there it is right there. There's almost that 3 months estimate that I mentioned right at the start. So then after you've made some initial changes to your raw manuscript, you may be hiring a standard editor for what they call line editing. And the line editing is manipulating the content to make sure that it flows correctly and that it makes sense for the audience that you're trying to reach. Now, for example, when I edit, I usually say for a standard book length, nothing that's super long, it usually takes me up to a couple weeks just to do that work. I have to allow for that time, as well as I may have other projects, and the editors you hire may have other projects going on too. So that could take a couple weeks for the editor alone, and then you have to go back and review all the editor's edits to make sure that that's what you want to say. Just because you turn it over to an editor doesn't mean that you have lost control of the process. And usually an editor will give back a manuscript in Word or some other word processing program. And if they're using Word, like I do, there's accept and reject changes. So you have to go through every one of those changes. And the longer your book, the longer it's going to take. So add another month to that. So here we are already at almost 3 months, and that's before you even upload it to Kindle Direct Publishing or whatever self-publishing platform you're working on. Then once you uploaded everything, well, actually after that, after the editing process, then you're going to, and after you make changes, then you're going to need to go to what's called copy editing, which is also called proofreading. Now, this is where people get really messed up. They don't understand the difference between editing and proofreading. Now, editing is for the content, and the proofreading or copy editing is for the mechanics. And that means the spelling, the punctuation, grammar, all of those little nitty-gritty details. Now, proofreading, like editing, can take a couple weeks depending on your editor. And then you have to go through again and look through all of their changes and either accept or reject. So there we got another month right there, probably, to allow. And the less experienced you are with this whole process, it's going to be a learning curve for you. So that's why it's going to take longer as well. So there's almost the 3 months right away. And that's even before you upload it to Kindle Direct Publishing. Then once it's clean enough to go to the next stage, which would be formatting. Now, if you do it yourself, give yourself some time, because what I've found, and of course now as Kindle Direct Publishing has taken over CreateSpace, there might be some different procedures going forward. So it's going to be a learning curve for all of us. But you're going to have to give yourself some time. And if you decide to format it with a professional designer or a formatting person, you're going to need to add weeks for that. So here we go. We're looking at 3 to 4 months before you even have something in your hands that's ready to upload to Kindle Direct Publishing. So after it's formatted, then you're going to need to review it again to make sure that your formatting, whether you did it yourself or your designer did it, that everything is in proper order. Then you upload it. Now, of course, I said it takes like maybe, without any problems, usually 24 to 48 hours after you upload it. I say allow at least a week just in case there's a problem. So, I mean, the time just keeps expanding and expanding. So then once you review it in the initial upload and everything looks good, and then it's available for sale. If it's an ebook, it's available for sale. Now, if you're going print, here's where those extra months come in. Because when you are doing a print book, you have a lot more review and proofing. So for the draft or for the initial upload of your print book to Kindle Direct Publishing, you'll get a digital proof, and that can give you an idea of what it looks like. But especially if this is your first time self-publishing at all, or using a new platform, whether it's Kindle Direct Publishing or some other platform, you're going to want to order a physical proof of your book, because things can go awry when it gets into the printing process. Maybe there's the end of the page and it skips over a page, and then you have some blank pages there that need to be taken out. I've had that happen with some of mine. So a lot of things can go wrong. So you need to order a physical proof. Now, they've had some pretty good turnaround. I've heard some commentary online in some writers groups that the turnaround for the proofs on the new Kindle Direct Publishing universe has been pretty good. And I found that too. Usually I have had that like within a week or so. So it's turned out pretty good. So, but still, there's about a week's worth, maybe 2 weeks worth of time, depending on where you live, to get that physical proof. Then you have to review that physical proof before you approve it for sale and order print copies. So that's going to take maybe a week or two, because when you review proofs, whether at whatever stage, if you've had an editor do it, or even if you've done it yourself, you're going to need to give yourself some time in between each stage, because it's really easy if you look over it once and then you put it away and you look at it again, you think, oh, I missed that, or I should have changed this. So give yourself some time. Now, after you've approved the physical copy proof, then you're going to want to order some copies to either give to potential reviewers or to use as display copies. And that can take a while. That can take a couple weeks. I think it's taken, in the past, I've gotten my supply of copies in a couple of weeks. So again, it just keeps expanding and expanding. So you certainly want to give yourself some time so that you're not frustrated and nervous and anxious about your book. So once you finish your book, just plan on that it's going to take about 3 to 6 months to get everything done properly and in a manner that will help decrease the stress. So I hope as you start planning for your upcoming books. I know as I'm recording this, we're in the fourth quarter of the year, so you might be planning things for the coming year. And so build that into your calendar. Don't just make a New Year's resolution and think it's going to be done in January. Is it possible? Yeah, but you have to be really experienced with the platform and with doing this in order to make it happen. So allow 3 to 6 months. So I hope you have found that helpful. And if you did, I would appreciate it if you would wander over to iTunes and give the Heidi Thorne Show a nice rating and review. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the Heidi Thorne Show on whatever platform you like to consume podcasts on, whether it's YouTube for the video or Podbean, Stitcher, and definitely iTunes. Also, if you want to connect with me, visit my website at HeidiThorne.com, and all my books are available on my Heidi Thorne author page on Amazon.com. As well, my audiobooks are available on iTunes and Audible. Thank you so much for your support and for listening. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. And in the meantime, have a great day.